If there's one thing the Sabres are lacking in general, you'd have to say it would be, well, bona fide playoff experience, given their relative youth and their lack of regular season success. But in the case of today's player, there is more than enough playoff experience to go around. Sabres fans have generally been very frustrated with the front office's inability to move this team forward towards kind of a contention foothold. At various points throughout these 14 years, but particularly again in the Kevin Adams era, this team has traded away top prospects once they have developed, but the team was not yet ready to compete in order to kind of get young again and go for a rebuild. These successive rebuilds and then kind of very quick to pull the trigger when the rebuild seems to have failed is what has kept the Sabres locked into this kind of 14-year death spiral. But I think when you look at Ryan McLeod, it was a move the front office made to make the team better and to help instill and establish the culture which they're now very much trying to peddle of being tough to play against, being responsible defensively, and just in general being a gritty team. I think Ryan McLeod represents the Sabres' attempt to compete and attempt to move forward. And so I think we have to look at him in a very positive light. And so, of course, before last season, the Sabres made the trade, sending the speedy Matthew Savoy over to Edmonton for Ryan McLeod and Tyler Tullio. McLeod came in last year and he put up really the best offensive season of his career, and really it was a career year overall. Honestly, McLeod was a perfect fit for Lindy Ruff and the Sabres, as he's a speedy two-way forward, extremely responsible in his own zone, who can move the puck in transition and kill penalties. And based on last season, it seems playing in Buffalo was a good fit for Ryan McLeod as well, as he was able to put up a career offensive year, and as a result, he was rewarded with a 4-year, $20 million contract that'll keep him in Buffalo through the 2028-29 season. I think Sabres fans should be very excited for what Ryan McLeod can accomplish in a Sabres uniform moving forward. But how did Ryan McLeod end up here as one of those players who's kind of expected to move this rebuild forward into contention? So Ryan McLeod is now 26 years old. He's a 6'3", 187-pound center, and he shoots left. He was drafted 40th overall by Edmonton in 2018, but he didn't have the most straightforward journey to the NHL, which I think is to be expected as someone who's drafted in the second round. It's usually not very straightforward. As opposed to some prospects who have 1 or 2 good years of major junior hockey before going to college or something like that, McLeod had a very long major junior career. He ended up playing 4 seasons, 3.5 for the Mississauga Steelheads, and half a season for the Saginaw Spirit. In totality, he ended up playing 261 games in the OHL. This started in his age 16 season for Mississauga, where he had 7 goals, 13 assists, and 20 points, a plus-minus of -6 in 62 games, which is pretty limited, but that's expected your first year jumping up to a higher level of hockey. It's pretty typical. You see that with all levels, and you honestly see that at all levels with McLeod. As we'll see as well, his second season at a higher level has tended to be much better. In his age 17 season for Mississauga, he would have 9 goals, 33 assists, 42 points, and he'd be plus-minus of +12 in 68 games. And he would continue this improved performance in 2017-18, where he scored 26 goals, 44 assists, and 70 points in 68 games. So within 3 years, he had developed into a point-per-game player. His skating was something that was really, really valued by the teams that were looking at him. And so it was little surprise that he was drafted by the Edmonton Oilers in the second round, 40th overall. For that next year after being drafted, he was sent back to juniors at age 19. He would play to Mississauga again, but it was a very disappointing year for him, especially defensively. I mean, he'd put up a point a game for them with 12 goals, 26 assists, and 38 points in 32 games for the Steelheads, but he ended up -12 plus-minus, and he ended up getting traded to the Saginaw Spirit, where he would finish the year with 7 goals, 17 assists, 24 points, and a plus-minus of +18. Saginaw was a much better team. They would end up going on a deep playoff run, Ultimately, they couldn't win anything, but it was still a good experience for McLeod to go on a second deep playoff run in juniors. He'd been on a 20-game playoff run with the Steelheads 2 years prior as well. So he came into professional hockey with a bit of a background as far as playoff experience at the junior level. After Saginaw's playoff run ended, McLeod was sent to the Bakersfield Condors, where he would play 5 games in the Calder Cup playoffs and tally 3 assists. It seems that overall Ryan McLeod improved his game every year in juniors, and by the time he finished, he had developed into a point-per-game player who could play on the defensive end and also develop play on the offensive end. He was better at collecting assists than he was at scoring goals, but he was able to contribute at all ends of the ice and was kind of looking like he would be a complete forward. But of course, things aren't very straightforward in the time frame we're talking about. In 2019-20, that would represent McLeod's first professional season, and it would be an adjustment to go to the AHL. Playing kind of on lower lines, on bottom lines, he would score 5 goals, have 18 assists, and put up 23 points in 56 games for the Condors in that shortened AHL season. The impressive point is he had a plus-minus of 0 in his rookie year, which is actually very impressive. Most rookies, even if they're on a good team, put up a minus in their first year of professional play. Now, in the chaos that was 2020, 2021, the Oilers wanted McLeod to get some playing experience, so he was sent out to Switzerland, and he would play 15 games in the Swiss National League, where he would score 4 goals, have 7 assists for 11 points, and a plus-minus of 3, which again, almost a point per game, 11 points in 15 games. And then, once North American play started, he would return to Bakersfield, where he'd play 28 games, and he was definitely a point per game there, where he would score 14 goals, put up 14 assists for 23 points, and his plus-minus over that 28-game stretch was plus 23. This is enough to earn him an NHL call-up at the end of that season. He'd play 10 games for the Oilers. It would be a big adjustment for him, and he would only put up 1 assist in those 10 games and have a -2. Although he would manage 4 playoff starts as well, but he wouldn't put up any points as the team was dispatched by Winnipeg in the first round. In 2021-2022, he would essentially become a full-time NHL player. He'd play 71 games at the top level with 9 goals, 12 assists, and 21 points, plus-minus of -2. And in only his first full year, his advanced comparative statistics were pretty much average, which was a good sign for his future development. He would also play 16 games that postseason and find the back of the net 3 times, so he was finding ways to contribute in big moments as well. In 2022-23, his season would be shortened due to injury, as he would only play 57 games that year. But clearly his defensive game had adjusted to the NHL level. He scored 11 goals that year with 12 assists for 23 points, and he finished with a plus-minus of 4. He would play in 12 playoff games as well that year and put up 5 assists. But it's the first year where his advanced metrics were wholly positive across the board. Because of his defensive contributions, his offensive contributions, and his ability to take care of the puck, McLeod was looking like he would be someone who would certainly never be a liability, even if he would be a little bit limited offensively. In 2023-24, he would put up his best season to date with 12 goals, 18 assists, 30 points, and a plus-minus of 10, his best plus-minus thus far. In the postseason, he would play 24 games, and he was a part of the Oilers' fantastic penalty kill unit, which I believe stopped 22 or 23 consecutive power plays, which just is unbelievable given it's the postseason and you're facing top quality special teams units every night. And in that postseason, he would also add 4 goals in addition to his great penalty kill work. Following the Oilers' Stanley Cup loss to Florida, McLeod would be traded in July to the Sabres, as we talked about before. He really fit what the Sabres wanted to do, although because of injuries, he had to probably step up more offensively than he would have wanted to. But it worked out pretty well for him, as he'd put up his first 20-goal season. He'd have 20 goals, 33 assists, 53 points in 79 games, and he'd finish the year with a plus-minus of 13 on a much worse team than he was playing on before. He was able to put up the highest plus-minus of his career. So although he's developing at a slower pace than he has in the OHL and the AHL, he's showing the same trajectory of first getting the defensive game down and then adding the offense in later seasons. And if that is true, he probably has one more step to take, and if he takes that step, he'll be a truly scary player at the NHL level. But at this point, he's still a highly responsible top six forward who can play at both ends of the ice and contribute offensively as well. His comparative advanced metrics were slightly negative, but this was primarily due to the fact that his possession change score was disastrous. Last season, Ryan McLeod had 26 takeaways against an astronomical 70 giveaways for a possession change score of -44. To put that in perspective, in Edmonton, his possession change score over all of his seasons there was a combined -6. So to go from that combined -6 to a -44 shows that there is still a lot of improvement that McLeod can make in his game, and honestly, he needs to make it coming into this season. I think when you look at his role this year, I think McLeod is basically slated as the Sabres second-line center, probably playing with Zucker and Tuch. And I think he'll have a very big role to play there. He has to play on that line. He'll have to contribute offensively, especially in terms of getting Tuch opportunities to score goals. But he's also going to have to hold down the fort defensively, and he's going to have to provide excellent penalty killing, as he has done so often in his career. But if he can replicate his performance from last season, and maybe clean up the possession change stuff a little bit, it'll go a long way to helping the Sabres get to the postseason. And if they do get to the playoffs, you can bet they're going to be relying on Ryan McLeod's veteran experience to carry them forward, as the rest of the team is fairly bereft of playoff experience. So how can you not like Ryan McLeod? He's an excellent addition. The Sabres currently have him now after re-signing him at the end of last season on a 4-year, $20 million contract. So he's getting $5 million a year. That makes him right now the Sabres' third highest paid forward. So the Sabres have invested a lot into him. They clearly think he's very important in terms of the style of play, because his style of play represents kind of the team philosophy. So he's an archetype that they have set up for their young players to follow. So he's valuable not just what he represents on the ice, but also what he represents in terms of stylistic play. Lindy Ruff can say, hey, you want to model your game? Look at Ryan McLeod. That's who you should model your game after, to the young forwards. So I think he's an excellent person for the Sabres to have. I don't know if he's going to be able to replicate his offensive production from a year ago. Compared to the rest of his career, that's a bit of an aberration. And it could have come at the cost of some of his defensive play, especially in terms of the turnovers and everything. Maybe he was looking to be offensive a little too much, and that's probably due to some of the injuries that the Sabres had suffered. So hopefully he can find a little bit more balance in his game. Certainly nobody's going to complain if he scores 20 goals again, but I think he's more effective kind of as that balanced two-way winger, and I think he is definitely someone who the Sabres are going to need to lead the charge defensively and also on the forecheck as well. Like, he has to be doing the dirty work, and I think he's totally capable of that. And I think if he does, I think it's going to go a long way to helping the Sabres achieve their goal of a playoff berth this season. So that's Ryan McLeod. What do you think about him? Do you think it was an overpay for the Sabres to pay him $5 million a year? Do you want to see him become more involved offensively, or would you rather see him take more of a defensive role? What are your thoughts about it? I'd love to hear it. Please leave a comment down below, and we'll talk about it. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please leave a like if you did. If you want more Sabres content, please consider subscribing to the channel. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, go Sabres. Bye-bye.